Well, as we know, the road to knowledge is paved with good intentions. Even with the best intentions, though, the right knowledge can be used in the wrong contexts. Here to share the latest updates to the Knowledge Aware Certification Program are Marcus Fisher, VP of Engineering and CTO at Newman Aluminum Raufoss, and IK Solutions Architect, and Tim Glau, Engineering Specialist from Caterpillar and IKAA Board Member. And I believe you'll have polls too, so you'll want to tune into those notifications. Take it away.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much, Amy, for introduction. And I want to thank everybody, for joining the session. And I'm really excited, for the AKA. Just reflecting back, the 3 years we are doing this one and what we achieved so far, it's really tremendous. And before I start with the presentation together with Tim, I would like really to thank our sponsor, Aurus, because without them, we wouldn't be there where we are. And then also, in addition, my colleagues, my board members, it's Tim, Wendy, Brittany, and Jeff, and Brian, who supports us with the financials. So you can see us all on the webpage of the IKAA Knowledge Association. And with this one, we got away. Tim, do you want to add anything?
No, I appreciate being able to be here today, and hopefully you'll be able to hear me okay. I'm having some connection issues, but we're real excited about what we're going to share today. So, yep, thanks for appreciate IKAA and the Aurus for sponsoring. And I'm glad that you're all able to join the session today.
Perfect. Then let's roll it. Today, what we will cover is really the certification program, the overview, the vision, how we started with the organization. Then once again, why you should become certified. Then the training, the first release, and I'm really, really proud of it, that we accomplished this one. We announced it in the last conference, and right now it's live, you can see it. Then Tim will talk about the next session, the next training that we're going to roll out, and we are planning, and for sure we're looking for support. And then question and answers for sure in the end. So if you go to the next slide. If you really think about knowledge aware, and that's the reason why I'm also part of it, why we founded this organization 3 years ago, is really what are we achieving in industry, and what have we achieved? And if you look about the different industrial revolution levels, 1.0 to 4.0, what has changed? It's the process and the systems. Always if you look from standardization, from machine, steam engine, computers, always the process and systems are changing, and they gave us a step change in how we do things today. And then, we look on the next slide, how are we doing knowledge, and the knowledge, you see it still in every company. We have file folders. Sometimes we have programs in the background. We have expert systems. We have to call people, different file folders, and we have the cloud, sometimes we have different speeds of the access. And especially in global organizations, you see then that people have to access information, we have to be aligned, and it comes really down to the provision of knowledge. And that's the reason why I think the IKAA and the knowledge aware concept is so powerful. If we go to the next slide, you see really that we really have our vision and mission defined, and that's really that we want to capture enterprise knowledge and that we provide active knowledge in the flow. That's really one of the key things and the fundamental difference. If you go back to industrial 4.0, that's a change in process and system. And that's really what we want to achieve and what we are achieving with this method. Go to the next slide. And for this one right now, we have really established the Knowledge Aware Certification Program. And we put a lot of effort here with the board into it. And I want to thank also very special Jeff Moffa for helping us for recording. You will see him a lot of times when you purchase certification training. And we have there the 3 levels. The one is the basics. That means you are certified. Then we have the professional, and we have the instructor. Next. And with this one right now, we talk about the CAPEX, and Tim will explain it in a simple ways, how we can accomplish those or create those.
Yeah, so what we're moving into now is we're moving into more of a professional track, which means that we're going to get you more information in regards to how do I apply this. It's a great concept. We've given you the overview and the certification train, but how do we start bringing it down to the real world? And here is an example of that. So you might, for instance, in your manufacturing setting, have a torque bar. And I've seen some of these out in the field there where you can torque the bar, and it will then change colors, or it may give you some haptic feedback where it vibrates actually in the torque bar when you've achieved some portion within the range that's expected. So here we have an example of that, and you might have a green, yellow, red type of a display saying I have met the requirement of that target or of that manufacturing process step requirement. Okay, next slide. So, when we're talking about CAPEX here, we're moving from this passive world into more of an application or application-focused world. The packets that we're talking about, these knowledge nuggets, they're not meant to be just anything willy-nilly that you might find as far as knowledge is concerned. This is the knowledge that's been tried and trued and tested within the workflow. So that's the knowledge that we want to capture here, stuff that we can make actionable. And it helps us with that decision making. And the knowledge packet and the history and the version control area that we've had difficulty in the past related to knowledge management. How do we track that and make sure that we don't necessarily lose the information that we really want to keep? Having it, version control in a way that it makes sense and it's meaningful based on time periods or based on requirements that you have for your programs. And then the closed loop feedback. This is something that's relatively new with knowledge aware that you won't get in the knowledge management realm. It's really about, taking that knowledge, delivering it to where it's being used. And then the feedback is basically saying, how well was the vitality or that usage or that sundown or whatever it is that's deciding that you're making a decision on being tracked and fed back to your authors, back to your technical teams that are making decisions. That way they can make sure that the knowledge is fresh and put back into the flow. It's really a novel concept. Next slide. So let's take a look at certification training 1 and quickly review that. So we have a polling question. The polling question is we want to just get an understanding of your level of awareness related to the training that we have available. If it's a basic awareness or exploratory awareness where you've kind of been considering it and you have visited a web page, but maybe you haven't engaged yet. The participation might be that I've started or a portion or completed the Training 1 Fundamentals class. We'd like to hear about that too. Or maybe this isn't for you and you had no plans. Can you give us some feedback on that? So I would say go to your polling area on the right-hand side and give us one of those 4 answers. And I guess if we get enough input, maybe we can show those results.
So there's a slight delay. It's about 15 seconds. Actually, people are voting now, and I can see the results here. I can be happy to read them off if that works. So far, basic awareness is winning. 45% basic awareness for how familiar you are with the knowledge aware basic certification. Exploratory awareness, 23%. Basic is still going up to 53%. 15% says they've started a portion or completed the class, and about 8% do not plan to take the certification.
Okay, thank you, Amy, for that.
Yeah,
that gives us some idea.
Yeah, and I hope that we can change this one, because right now when we really look into this one, it's really the change, how we want to change the knowledge provision, how innovative it is, and how we want to provide trusted knowledge in the flow of work. That's really the point. For me, as I said, it's really the change, a step change, how we manage knowledge. Go to the next slide. The next one. Here, what you see right now is really the start page, of our knowledge aware training, the basic certification. And I once again want to thank Jeff Moffa, for moderating it, for going through this one, for putting the energy and the passion in it to go through the training and record this one. I think this one is really a great training.
Okay, it looks like Marcus dropped out. So Tim, you want to pick up where he left off? He may be.
Yeah, so he was just thanking, I believe he was thanking Jeff Moffa for taking the time to moderate this first class for us. Let's go to the next slide. So this gives you a high-level overview of the modules that are involved in the certification training. If you do get a copy of this presentation, we've set a link here on the right behind the image that will take you right to an overview of the certification training. But we go through all the different aspects that you're going to learn and find out about knowledge aware, everything from people and culture to embracing knowledge aware, the knowledge aware process, the flow model, the maturity model, and where knowledge aware will be effective and how to start it. So this is really a great training just to kind of get your feet wet for certification. That will really prepare you for the next level of training we're going to be offering. Okay, next slide.
Thanks, Tim, for catching up. I had technical difficulties. The system just came out for a moment. And if we really go this one, those are once again the top level changes, or the top level awareness trainings we have. And what you see there is really the introduction to the concept itself, which is very, very important, and I really appreciate it in this training. Then you have really people, culture, and the digital transformation, which you have to execute, and you get the basic knowledge about this one. The enterprise vision, where we want to go, and then identify the knowledge-aware opportunities. I think this one altogether gives a really compact, good training and certification for the basic knowledge. And it creates also, with you, the creativity. You can think about it. How can I apply it? Where can I apply it in my company? And it's not only an engineering tool. It can be really applied in every process. We just talked about a little bit about COVID. Just think about all the processes or the legal requirements your company had to fulfill, to be in line with the law. And for sure, with this knowledge-aware approach, with knowledge in the flow at the right plant, at the right position, this one is a tool, that helped us a lot also in rolling out this method. If you go to the next slide. Those pictures you've seen during the conference, and once again, there will be some time spent on this one to explain those again, to get fully understanding of the basic knowledge, the CAPEX, and also how to revision knowledge. I think this one was a very good eye-opener. It gives a good compact approach for training. And in the end, the questions are not easy. You will get also the certification that certifies you as a basic knowledge-aware user. If you go to the next slide. On the other hand, I also want to point out, if you become an IKAA member, you have also the knowledge-aware maturity model. So that really lays out the part of your organization, of your team, of your company to become fully knowledge-aware. So that's really the process, I think, that will help to revolutionize provision of knowledge. And I just want to show that we have also, a lot of activities on our webpage, on the IKAA organization webpage. And you get really, immersed in the knowledge, which help you to provide the background, to your organization. We go to the next slide and the last slide before we go to the future. That's really then the certificate you will achieve when you finish the basic knowledge training. And once again, it's a good mixture. It's very entertaining, in my opinion. Jeff explained it very well. And the question and the explanation are fit well, like hand in glove. And it's a challenge, but I think you can achieve the certification. And I hope everybody, also out of the poll, who said, maybe I do it, maybe I don't, go onto this page and try it out. Thank you very much. And for this one right now, that's the basic what we rolled out. I would like to hand it over to Tim to discuss about the feedbacks that we had. We had really good feedback for the first module, but right now I would like to really hand it over to Tim for the future, because what are we doing for the certification training for the next level? And that's really the instructor level and the professional level.
Yeah, thank you, Marcus. I would also like to say that if you go to kaacertification.org, I'll say that again, KA is for knowledge aware, certification.org, you'll be able to learn all about that existing course. But right now I'd like to talk a little bit about training module 2 and 3. In fact, somebody here said, I look forward to future courses in more detail. Would you register for a future course? Very likely or likely is one of the highest returns that we got here. So let's take a look at some of that. So let's take a look at where we're at with training 2. Go to the next slide. And once again, next slide. So we have a polling question before we start. So high expectations, were you impressed enough with training 1 that you're interested in doing training 2? Is your purpose for maybe thinking about more training related to you want to learn all you can about knowledge aware, or maybe your application focus and you really haven't learned what you felt you're hoping to get so far because you really want to get down to earth and bring some real world examples into your use case. Or once again, if you're still not planning on taking even training 2, let me know. So if you could quickly do that, and your answers, your questions should be there on the right, and then you can select the one that best fits you.
Yeah, we are actually just came up, so we're going to need to give it that delay again. Okay, so
okay.
Let me go ahead and vote so I can see the results and track those. All right, I'll of course select high expectations. So you got one result, but
okay,
it's me. But we do have those 4 choices. So yeah, folks, it just came up under the polls tab. And what might be your prime participation interest? Yeah, thanks for voting. We really appreciate it. So they're coming in 53% at high expectations, impressed with module 1, interested to learn more. 29% strength in learning, already sold, want to learn all I can. 27 at application focus, can't fully move forward without real world examples. So pretty darn good.
Okay, that gives us a good idea. Thank you. Let's go to the next slide since we're we're quickly getting out of time, I should say. So what we showed last year was this slide, which showed that, our certification. We're now moving into professional. So our goals for professional training is to have more in-depth academic than in-person and professional training designed to gain more firsthand experience. And connection here to bring your own projects. We're thinking maybe there's even some more personal dialogue that we might want to have related to your home projects here. So we want to not only give you some academic training, because there's going to need to be some work we need to do up front in relation to training, getting you prepared for this, but also some real world practical engagement examples, and then taking that home and applying it to your home environment. So we want to follow through with that from the beginning to the end to make sure you're really getting the concepts. Let's go to the next slide. So on the next slide, training 2, that pre-work, that academic work that I feel we really need to understand is the landscape, the culture, the peoples, the tools, the knowledge stream. What we've learned that in order so that you can apply knowledge aware, we first need to understand the process by which that knowledge is being infused into your streams so that the right decisions are being made. We need to have a little bit of understanding about your knowledge stream, your processes, your standard work. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So the proposal here is that we're going to be working, this new training is going to be in 3 parts. I talked about the academic preparation, practical examples and engagement in real-time format, kind of like as you're working back and forth, what decisions would you make? How would you maybe apply in a certain given situation, the knowledge aware principles. And then the application follow-up. So then we want to work with you, take it home, give us some examples. We'll have a team that will be able to work with you to help you and mentor you through some of those home projects there. All right, next slide. Okay, so for timing, hit space bar again. So we had the training. Now we're looking at the 2023 to 2024 timeframe. When you hit the space bar one more time, what you'll see is that we're kind of like in limbo here on how we're going to actually pull this off. The academic training, I think, would be pretty easy. We've done that with training one, and it'd be a similar format. But the rest of this engagement example, we're still learning and trying to run the tightrope with our unicycle there as we're flying this ship. So we're a little bit up in the air with that, but we'll be sure to communicate that as soon as we can. Next slide. So the 2023-2024 timeframe. Also, you'll note that down here at level 3 instructor, we're going to try to do the planning a little bit early. We're going to try to do that this next year as well, so that we can be a little bit more in a little bit of an overlap, not necessarily in serial, but in parallel, and start thinking about the instructor training class that we like, so that you can be able to train your own teams and then feed it forward there. Next slide.
And Tim, maybe you can also mention, you know, if there's anybody from the cool CAPEX group that won it or they applied for it, if they're willing to support us, to help us with practical examples, we are more than happy, you know, to get more members that help us to create this training session, because we want to have practical examples, and that makes really a lot of the difference. And so if anybody is willing to support, please contact us on our webpage, and we will give you further information.
Yeah, so the goal here, I think, through the professional training, when you think of it and you want to communicate this to your leaders, the thing I would say is we're trying to lower the risks in decision making where work is being done by providing knowledge to participate in the decision making at the key points of your process. So that this knowledge that you've captured, you spent a lot of money. I know a lot of the companies that are participating with us have spent a lot of money over the years to capture their knowledge. They see it as important. What we want to do is we want to exercise that a little bit and get it to where it can be worked or used, not just sitting there in some sort of storage vault and hoping that somebody will access it by giving them some glorified search tools for meta search or whatever. We want to work with you to try to understand, how do we get this knowledge actually infused and participating where it makes sense. And as I move from, let's say, one step to the next step, that might be a whole new set of knowledge. And so the thread between your knowledge stores and where work is being performed is what we would like to communicate to you, and the techniques that are associated. All right, for the polling question. So we have certified. You plan to be certified if you plan to be professional or instructor level. We showed this last year. We'd like to repeat it this year to see if it's changed any. What would be your level of interest?
Yeah, and now the poll was put up already. So some have voted. Right now it's standing at 54% planning to participate in certified collaboration forums, and that professional beyond certified at 18%, instructor 27%.
Okay. Very good. All right. Next slide. As a thank you. So we'll take some Q&A there, Amy.
Yes, indeed. Keenan is asking, how long does the basic training take, and what is the cost? As well as, is it web-based training or self-study?
So it's web-based training that's done online. So you would then go to ikaacertification.org. You would either sign up and become a member of the IKAA, which will give you access, or you would then, there's a small fee associated as well if you decide to go that route. The amount of time through the modules, you know, I would say it would take in order. Have you take us through what you think, Marcus? What do you think the length?
I took the training, and but I had it on and off because it's a nice feature that you can also stop in between. But I would guess overall it's 1.5 hours. And the nice thing is you can go back to the sessions, relearn them or re-listen to them, and that really what helped me off. I mean, I just want to see also, you know, how the performance is, you know, how pretty much a presentation is. And as I mentioned already during the course, Jeff and the team here, we did a good job. I think that's a good comprehensible training, and will help you to understand the basic concept.